So Ryland accidentally played God. He did. He accidentally played God. And this is what happens. Hello and welcome back to the couch. We saved you a seat. My name is Luke and today we're checking out chapter 28 of Project Hail Mary. You know the deal by now. We're doing chapter by chapter reviews and reactions. We're going to go over what happened. If you'd like to follow along, you can take a look in the description below. There's a link to Amazon to this book. Go ahead and buy it. It'll help us out and you can follow along with us. And it's a great book, a great read. We're just going to jump into chapter 28. So by God, this is a good chapter. I love this chapter, actually. I could not put this one down. The reason is because the chapter before, a lot of ADHD, a lot of hyperventilation. This one was thoughtful and interesting and deals in evolution and generation after generation after generation after I don't know how many generations there were. There were tons of generations. We get it. Rocky was really impatient a couple of chapters ago. Lots of generations. Anyway, we're going to jump into it. It's been a few days since the great escape of the Taumoeba. And they're not in the fuel lines, thankfully. Ryland decided to take a look. They're not in the fuel lines. So he spins down the drives and he creates a Taumoeba alarm, essentially, where he takes Astrophage, puts it on a little slide, puts it on top of a light underneath a microscope, and whenever that slide goes clear, meaning the Astrophage have been eaten, the light connects and alarms go off. That way he knows if there's another Taumoeba. Great escape. Now he's got to figure out how they got loose. See, he and Rocky had determined that the Taumoeba can only live for about a week without any sustenance, without any food. So he knows they came from the tanks, the breeder tanks, or the smaller ones that were with the beetles. Being that the breeder tanks are self-regulating and self-operating, they're just inside these bins, operating by themselves, just fine. The instruments don't need to be checked or anything. They're just okay. Ryland checks the farm readouts. Everything is a-okay. And in the bins, he knows there's no leak, but there's also no leaks in the farms because the nitrogen on the outside of the breeder tanks is higher air pressure than on the inside of the breeder tanks from the readouts. Now it's all a guessing game. Maybe the Taumoeba got through the mini farms from the beetles. And those mini breeder farms are made of iridium steel. And maybe it's not good at holding microbes in place, but Rocky would know that. And Rocky made the iridium steel. Maybe Rocky made a mistake, but he never makes mistakes. There's a lot to be thinking about. To be sure, Ryland makes Astrophage slides. You know, they're going to be black. They're going to be dark. He tosses them into each of the bins with the mini farms in them, and he'll see if it is the iridium steel, this iridium steel iron combination that is leaking, that's allowing the Taumoeba out and eating the Astrophage that's within each one. After 2 hours, no results. Ryland tests the air inside, nearly no nitrogen, so he knows the Taumoeba aren't dead. Another hour, nothing. So the mini farms for George and Ringo aren't leaking. Ryland repeats the experiment for the beetles John and Paul. Still nothing. Then Ryland turns to the least likely culprit, at least to him, the breeder farms. They're made of Xenonite. And 1 centimeter of Xenonite is strong enough and sturdy enough and dense enough to hold back 29 atmospheres of Rocky's atmosphere from when he was on the Hail Mary. It's harder than diamonds. Ryland repeats the test for all 10 breeder farms. He then brings his bedding up to the lab, sets it all up, and he goes to sleep. So he can hear the alarm come off that was on the lab table. Ryland then wakes up about 6 hours later and checks the breeder farms. The test's completely clear. Ryland panics, checks again. All of the tests, all of the slides within the breeder farm bins are completely clear. Then he checks the test that's on the lab table. Still dark. Ryland's now curious. If there was a crack inside of the breeder farms, nitrogen would have gotten in and killed the Taumoeba. But he already tested that. It's not an issue. So then Ryland takes a break, grabs a breakfast burrito, and thinks. This is one of my favorite parts of this chapter. Ryland gets into evolution now. What he realizes is nitrogen is a gas, and it's only going to operate within the entropy, like water. It's going to fill gaps where it can fill. Taumoeba, on the other hand, are much, much smaller and operate on stimulus and response. His hypothesis is that the Taumoeba had figured out how to either leak out of the breeder box or hide deep in the Xenonite breeder boxes so they could escape through the walls of the breeder box, because he was spending so much time making generation after generation after generation to get them more resistant to nitrogen. Super smart, right? Life finds a way, as they say in Jurassic Park. It found a way. Super smart. Now he needs a new experiment. He's got to make sure that this happens. And I led with this. This doesn't actually happen in that order, but I led a little early. Doesn't matter. He then makes a new experiment. Essentially, he cuts these rings, right? These circles, right? And he makes big slides. 2 of them are Xenonite, so Xenonite, and 2 of them are plastic. And then he spreads the astrophage in between them like they're a sandwich, and then he glues them together on the outside. So they're like massive slides. He can see through them. Well, he can't see through them because there's astrophage in them, but he can see through them, right? And so he tosses the one that's got the astrophage with plastic and Xenonite into the container with the Taumoeba 82.5, and then he tosses the other 2, Xenonite and the plastic, into a container with regular Taumoeba, the one that he had in his storage. And you'll never guess which slide was completely see-through. The Xenonite slide with the Taumoeba 82.5. Ryland created a much stronger version of this Taumoeba. He's the problem. He didn't take into account that this is a living thing and that it would figure out other ways to live other than just adaptation. Adaptation is a vague term, right? So he's like, well, this isn't all bad. Actually, he can just create more breeder farms and not subject the Taumoeba 82.5 to more nitrogen and allow it to not evolve any further, and it would just breed at its own natural pace, and he could put it in plastic or steel, anything else. He could just recreate the breeder farms out of his own material and not worry about it, as long as he doesn't force them to evolve. As long as he just lets them eat astrophage, poop wherever they want to, and continue to breed, live out their life, he has no problems, right? Thank you to Rocky. Rocky. Biggest point in the book right here. Ryland knows that Rocky is screwed. Screwed. Rocky doesn't have all these materials. Sure, Rocky's got nitrogen-based gas because he's dealing with ammonia. Right. But his breeder farms aren't... His way of breeding the Taumoeba isn't going to work if they're leaking. It's the same Taumoeba. He'll have it in his fuel cells. He'll have it all over the place. They're weeks apart. Oh, by the way, that was the end of the chapter. He freaks out about Rocky. They're weeks apart. If he goes back, he's going to run out of food. I jumped to it. If he goes back, he's going to run out of food. You're talking about an actual suicide mission. If he goes back, he has a chance to save all of Erid and its people, or its alien forms, whatever. Or he goes to Earth, and he's a hero. Now, he sends the Beatles, sure. The Beatles beat him there by what, 9 years? 7 years? 8 years? Like, he sends the Beatles off. He doesn't have to go to Venus. He sends the Beatles off. They solve the Venetian issue, and then he just shows up years later in a ship, jacked because he's been hanging out at 1.5 G's And he's only 8 to 9 years older, and everybody else is 26 to 30 years older. 26 to 27 years older, let's say. Yeah. He's got to save Rocky. He's got to save him. He could be selfish. He could. I don't think he's going to. The reason I don't think he's going to, and we talked about this in a previous chapter, the level of adversity that he goes through to get to the point that he's in this story at this point creates the man that helps Rocky's people. He can save both worlds and still do the suicide mission. He has already accomplished all of this adversity on a much, much more micro, granular scale, right? I essentially get up early every single day, 5 o'clock, and I go to the gym and I do a absolutely horrific workout. But by 9 a.m., I'll have done the hardest thing I intend on doing all day. Everything else is easier. Now, on a macro sense, this man has faced adversity from other humans, whether they're other scientists. He's been glorified for having all of this knowledge about astrophage and being able to move that science forward. He's been a coward. He's been on a spaceship alone. He's met an alien race. He's overcome adversity after adversity after adversity, doing some things that I can't comprehend how unbelievably scary they would be. To tell you the absolute truth. Scared the absolute shit out of me. Small story. Look, the scariest I've ever been, I'll say it, is I decided to go for a long run. I think I said this before. Decided to go for a long run and run across the Golden Gate Bridge. It's like 6 miles into this run. Sweating. You know, it's September. And I just remember squeezing my hands so tightly that my hands were almost bleeding. The nails were sticking into my hands so hard. My own fingernails. Because I was running across this bridge. You can't leave. You got to keep going. Had an MRI recently also, and I'm just laying there like, you can't move, you can't move, you can't move. What's terrible about that one is they asked me what music that they wanted to play, and I told them, and I knew the exact length of each one of the songs. They're like, yeah, it's going to take between 25 and 45 minutes. And I was like, cool. And then the first song ended, and I was just like, oh my God, that's 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Second song ended, that's 3 minutes and 48 seconds. We still have maybe 20 more minutes to go, and I have to just lay here and not move and just feel my heart beating. Scared me half to death. Anyway, yeah, we're it. This is it. This is the seminal moment. Ryland has to choose. He has to choose. Now, what he could do hypothetically is he does know that Rocky lives a lot longer, and that Rocky has 30, 40, 50 years to get back to Erid. If Rocky is already at the velocity that he needs to go, and Ryland can see him through the petroboscope, and he's still going, he maybe could make the decision of like, well, it's going to take him an extra 10 years to get home. I need to go back to Earth. Because he's still going at the same velocity. The inertia is still happening. Don't think that's going to happen. We're seeing Rocky in the next chapter. Well, what if the timetable is the same? That means that you won't see him through the petroboscope because his engines will be cut off because he won't have any fuel. So how's Ryland going to find this dude? He could do the math, I guess. He is that guy. Anywho, yes, I'm excited. Chapter 29 is going to come out tomorrow. Chapter 30 is the next day. Then what we're going to do is a full book review. I'm going to tell you some of the things I loved about the book. I'm going to tell you some of the things I didn't like much about the book. There's not that many I didn't like much about the book, to be frank with you. And then I am going to tell you my sequel idea. I have one really goofy sequel idea, and I've got one really serious sequel idea. And then the next day, we're going to release a video where it's me and my older brother, William, who's on this channel. He's not seen the trailer yet. And we're going to do his first time reaction to the trailer. And I'm going to be there, and we're going to chat about it. And then we're going to do like a shot by shot, moment by moment of the trailer, and I have not seen it since I watched it the first time. So some of the moments that I forgot that happened in the trailer I'm gonna get to relive them again. And I enjoy this book so much. I'm sure I'll like the trailer even more, which is hard to believe because the trailer is so cool. So cool. So that's what's coming down the pipe for you guys. Also, need another book series, need another book. Thinking about Murderbot because there's a show on Apple TV that's happening right now, and it's sci-fi fantasy. We'll see. But if you want to put in some of your suggestions below, that'd be great. However, I think that'll be it for me. So if you like this content, please like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, later, taters.